Hello, everybody. My name is Reverend Gregory Seal Livingston. I'm the interim pastor of New Hope Baptist Church and the president of the Coalition for a New Chicago. And my co-host, the great Reverend Ira Joe Ackery, the pastor of Greater St. John Bible Church and the co-chair of the Leaders Network. He's traveling today, so I'm taking up the stair for both of us, and just so glad you guys are here. We want you to be aware of our phone number, 312-738-1060. We want you to call in with your comments, your statements, your concerns, because we have had a whirlwind week since we've seen you last Tuesday. You know, we were talking about last Thursday how we were having our Lakeshore Drive shut down and our march to Wrigley Field. And that happened, everybody. It was an incredible event on last Thursday during a weekday, during rush hour, before a Cubs game, during the start of Lollapalooza. We were filled up with so much that was going on, but we wanted to get a particular point across, and I believe that's something that we did. God bless us to have about 150 people on Lakeshore Drive to block that. And because people were getting off of work, and as they began to trickle in from work, by the time we got to Wrigley Field, we had 500 plus. And so we communicated the message that it's time to end the tale of two cities here in Chicago and justice for all. And so we were so proud of so many of the different organizations. We had a very diverse group. You know, there are individuals that say, well, what did you guys accomplish? This is a step-by-step process. But let me say this. I chose that date, August 2nd, on purpose. Why? Because August 5th, this past Sunday, was the 52nd anniversary of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s march through Marquette Park. If you know your history, you remember that he was marching through Marquette Park. He had no sanctions by the mayor. There was no strategizing at that time with the police department. You know, Richard J. Daley was the mayor, and he was hitting the head with a brick, knocked him to the ground, but thank God he was not permanently injured. And in the spirit of Dr. King, it was done in love in terms of trying to bring these two halves together, because Chicago has, and still is, was intentionally segregated. And so one of the things we're trying to do is intentionally desegregate it. What segregation brings is two things: insulation and desperation. What I mean by that is those who get all the resources are insulated, and they're insulated from the desperation of those who don't get the resources. And you say, Livingston, what does it mean not to have resources? It's like prohibition. When alcohol was illegal, it created an all-new industry, the crime industry. And the king of that in Chicago, as you know, was Al Capone. And once alcohol was made legal, their ability to make money as a criminal enterprise stopped. In the same way, when you take resources from a community, it's like the prohibition of resources. So then the community, because they're human beings with the same urges as anybody else, in order to get money, shelter, cars, whatever it might be, they develop illegitimate economies, alternative economies. They try to find ways to make money because there is no opportunity in the legitimate economy. And so we must end this segregation, which creates insulation and desperation, by pricking the consciousness, like Dr. King, of the people. Now, we bleed into, and excuse the term, but it's appropriate, into this weekend of mayhem when over 60 people were shot, over, almost a dozen people, if not a dozen, were killed this weekend. Just an orgy of violence and blood. And, this bloody summer, it was hot this weekend. And so there were those that said, what did the march do for that? The march is not an anti-violence mechanism. What the march is a way to inspire the uninspired. We have to wake people up and let them know that there is hope, there are possibilities. We have a caller. Welcome to the show, caller. All hands on deck. Glad to have you. What's your name?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. My name's Ray.
Hey, Ray.
I watched the march, and it wasn't much at the beginning, but at the end, it was great.
Thank you.
But the thing about marching is, you march on Thursday, and this weekend there were 60 shootings.
That's right.
8 dead, maybe more are going to die, don't know. So marching is great, but you need something else. You need to put politicians in there that care. For the last 20 years, now the minority became the majority, African American and Hispanic, on the fifth floor. And still nothing's changed. So the thing is, march maybe I'll get in one of those marches one of these days. But
Ray, we love to have you. We love to have you because the marching is like medicine, Ray. You may not see the effects immediately, but keep taking the medicine and something will happen. Ray, thank you so much for your call. And again, to continue with what Ray was saying, and I was talking about that, is that the march is not an anti-violence mechanism. The purpose of the march is to inspire people who have been beaten down, downtrodden, and jaded, and to get them to hope again. Because that's the hardest thing to do, is to take a person who has been betrayed and disappointed, beaten down by the system, to even believe that it's possible to do something to make a change. But I always tell people that history is replete with this, that if it seems impossible, it is impossible until somebody does it. If you don't believe me, ask the Wright brothers. People laughed at them, mocked them, talking about flying machines. And now we're able to fly around the world, in one day. And so it is an incredible thing that we can make things happen. We have to believe they happen. We have to get out there with our marching feet, with our policies, with our demands. Frederick Douglass said power concedes nothing, without a demand. So what we're trying to do is to build our leverage in terms of these demands. Because what happened this weekend, everybody, there are many components that go into what happened this weekend, but I am a strong believer that the legacy of segregation in Chicago is one of the things that tends to breed and foster and fester the violence that happens in our communities. And we must get rid of these segregated policies. 50 schools closed in minority neighborhoods, destabilizing the community. Mental health centers closed down. Matter of factly, the mayor is sitting on $500 million in HUD money for low-income housing. I was talking to some policemen during the march. I said, look, do you think it would make a difference if somebody had a decent place to lay their head? If they had a working toilet? If they had heat in the wintertime? If they had, running water in the summertime? Would it make a difference? Even if this $500 million provided some air conditioning where you can sit in your own house and have a certain level of comfort. In other words, people in challenged and disadvantaged areas must stop being treated as second-class citizens, and the money that should be used to enhance their lives must be allocated equitably to them so their lives can be better. And so we're just so thankful for you guys. Call us. 312-738-1060. Love to hear your questions, what you have to say. I know my good buddy, the great leader, the Reverend Ira Joe Ackery, will be calling in a couple of minutes. He has some very important things to say to you guys who are a faithful and growing audience. We're always thankful for you. And, we're planning things. We're not just stopping here. We have demands. We have to be able to have economic and investment on the south and west sides. We want justice for police murder victims. Part of what's involved in that is a just negotiation of the FOP contract, Fraternal Order of Police. We understand that police need to be protected too from frivolous complaints by criminals who are using that as a tool. But by the same token, there has to be a level of accountability where they have to answer to the community. Reason being, because we entrust them with the power of lethal force. And we're looking for things like black-led anti-violence programs. Why? We need people who have boots on the ground, who have grown up in these areas, who know the people, the players, the nooks and crannies of the neighborhood that can bring these resources to the best places possible. And as well, we need a repurposing of those closed buildings, those closed school buildings, 50. Why? When they were first closed, it was costing taxpayers $1 million a day to maintain those closed buildings. That's $300 and some odd million a year that taxpayers were paying for buildings that were being maintained to keep the heat, the pipes from bursting, the water running. Whereas now the mayor is spending $1 million a block downtown. Understand, I love downtown. I love my city. I love our skyline, but $1 million a block downtown. Do you know what $1 million a block on the west side, $1 million a block on the south side, $500,000 $250,000, $100,000, $50,000, $25,000. Do you understand what that would do for a block? For $10,000 to beautify and re-landscape an entire block. It wouldn't even cost that much once you do it in volume. We have to have creative vision, but political will to make that vision happen. That's why we're trying to inspire the people. We're fighting voter apathy, where you just don't want to vote no more because you don't believe things will change. But things have changed, everybody. And I believe that my brother, the Reverend Ira Joe Ackery, he's getting close to call him. I can feel him because the roof is starting to shake. But is he here? Come on, Reverend Ackery. We're so glad that you're here, man. I know you're traveling.
Hey, Reverend Dr. Gregory Seal Livingston, man, it's so good to be on the line with you, man. I'm excited about what you and Mr. T.O. Hardeman ignited. We got some real serious conversation going on in Chicago about the disinvestment on the west and south side, as well as the corruption in the leadership of the political leaders.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So I just wanted to tell you to be encouraged because you have a thankless job, and just stay focused and keep the faith.
Yes, sir. Amen. With leaders like yourself, T.O. Hardeman, Eric Russell, Reverend Marshall Hatch, there was a whole team of us, and nobody could do it by themselves. We're just thankful we were able to come together, and we're going to keep going. And we need as many people, as many hands make light work. But I'm so grateful, man, for your leadership and your expertise and your ability to help provide resources, to make this thing happen.
Hey, buddy, one more thing I want to tell you. You and T.O. came up with this concept of let's go on the north side to cast a contrast of one Chicago on the north side, which is flourishing and prospering with great school and professional policing, and with the south and west side where there's poverty, agony, second-class schools, and racial profiling from police. And wouldn't you know it, this Sunday, what a horrific, terrifying occurrence of violence. It breaks my heart.
Yes.
But you guys, you were prophetic in stating that we must do something, or we're going to continue to experience a downward spiral. And so we hopefully can get more people engaged, and let's try to turn this thing around, man. We got to do it.
And I want to thank you, Reverend Ackery, for crystallizing the work with the statement, "In the Tale of Two Cities, justice for all Chicagoans." In the Tale of Two Cities was such a wonderful slogan. That language brought everything and everybody together. Nobody could disagree with that, because all you have to do is drive through the city and you will see that all sides are not equal. Thank you.
Absolutely. And what I want to also say is it gives us an opportunity to really give the purpose of this march. Many people have sarcastically made statements like, okay, you marched, now there's still violence. That was not the purpose of the march. Marching itself has no magical power, but marching gives us a platform to make a claim and to speak to the powers to be with our prophetic voices. And so I'm grateful that people are really understanding what the purpose of this march was. We were in the spirit of Dr. King.
Yes, sir.
And we have something to build on.
Oh, without a doubt, Doc. I mean, we had great thoughts. I mean, we hung things on our resign, Rahm Emanuel resign, Eddie Johnson, Superintendent Eddie Johnson. T.O. talked about the shutting down Lakeshore Drive. I talked about marching to Wrigley Field. You put that all together with In the Tale of Two Cities, and then your understanding and talking about the demands that we have as a group, and to communicate these demands to the masses so they can have an idea, a vision of what to look for, because without a vision, the people perish. Am I right, Pastor?
Absolutely. Absolutely, absolutely. I'm hoping that the callers will call in and give us some insight because we're going to be doing something else. I want to commend you, man. You've been you and Tio have been taking this message nationally, and ironically, I was on Fox National News today, and man, oh man, oh man, oh man, they even have a lot of disdain for this little guy that's on the fifth floor. You know, so
Sir.
he is really not serving our city well, and I am prayerful that someone rises up through the ranks. They asked me what kind of mayor they asked me who do I support for mayor, who do I want to see replace Rahm Emanuel. And I told them, Reverend Livingston, I want to see a person who is committed to equity and fairness for all Chicagoans. That's what we need.
Yes. Yes, we don't need another segregation-oriented supporting mayor that separates the haves from the have-nots, doesn't know how to govern the have-nots, only knows how to govern those who are able to take care of themselves. That's not the purpose of government. The purpose of government is to help those who have difficulties and challenges and disadvantages. That's the greatness of America. And Doc, I know the work that you do at Greater St. John and with the Leaders Network and in this city and around the country, matter of fact, around the world, you have committed and dedicated your life to being a servant. And oftentimes, there are many things that you do that are never seen in the media. And I just have to give you credit for that because oftentimes people think that we only do what they see in the media. But I know for a fact, the work that you do, you won't find out who you blessed until you get to heaven, Doc.
Well, let me tell you this. I really appreciate that, Pastor, because certainly just Friday, the good people of Greater St. John on the west side, we had an event right in one of the most violently written neighborhoods in the city, in Austin community, and we gave $20,000 away to college students just
Amen.
to incentivize them, to let them know that it's cool to be in school. And each person got at least $1,000.
So Reverend, you telling me that a black pastor on the west side of Chicago, a black man, had the vision to have a scholarship event for young black men and women, boys and girls who want to go further in life, and you mean that you put something together, you and your team, to bless these young people, and you said they got at least $1,000 apiece?
Absolutely. And so I thank you for giving me a platform today by talking about our work, because certainly this didn't make the media. It's good news, and I guess if it doesn't bleed, it does not lead.
Come on, Doc.
So I know you got a lot of people trying to call in. I know you got some things you want to get out. Is there anything else you need from me, sir?
I just want you to travel safe, hurry back, Doc, because we need you sooner than later, man, because, brother, you's a bad man.
Hey, man, don't you let up, and don't you go to that meeting.
Oh.
Don't you go to that meeting.
No way, Doc, no way. We've been hoodwinked, bamboozled, run amok, and tricked before. Fool me once is my fault. Fool me twice, shame on me. Come on, Doc.
Absolutely. Yes, sir. All right, man. Well, you take care. Be blessed. And tell Beauty to hold it down. All right.
All right, Reverend Ira Ackery, everybody, pastor of Greater St. John Bible Church, co-chairman of the Leaders Network, and also the founding host of this great show, All Hands on Deck. Everybody, the phone lines are open. Call in to 312-738-1060, 312-738-1060. You know, when we did the march on Thursday, we didn't know what was going to happen this weekend, but most of us who have been in Chicago for a while know when it gets hot, there are the possibilities for an increase in what's already a bloody summer. Let me say this, everybody. People say, what are you guys going to do next? What we have to do is to build leverage in order to get those who have the power, those who we have entrusted the power to by way of being elected officials, those persons who have the resources to help in terms of businesses and corporations and foundations, and we have to shine a light on the inequities in the city. We have to show, but we have to go where complaints and cries are heard. And oftentimes on the south and west sides and the challenged and disadvantaged areas, the cries and complaints of those that are suffering, that are desperate, are ignored and neglected. So Dr. King's strategy, and we're talking about this, it's not definite yet, but we're talking about it. On September 2nd, it is the 52nd anniversary of Dr. King's march through Cicero, Illinois. That march was about the brutal beating death by a white mob of a young black teenager named Jerome Huey. And so Dr. King, again, did not get the sanctions of the mayor, did not strategize with the police chief, but they went that way because it was the right thing to do. And Dr. King marched through hostile crowds. We haven't had to face anything like he faced in terms of that. What's important to understand is why you're doing it, what's pushing you to do it, and that if you feel that God is saying this is the right thing to do, you don't need permission or sanctions because God's going to take care of you. And so the Jason Van Dyke case is coming up on September 5th. That's 3 days after that anniversary. And so what we want to do is to bring the life of Jerome Huey, who was beaten to death 52 years ago, well, and then our young man Laquan McDonald, who was executed by a Chicago police officer named Jason Van Dyke. So in between there is a holiday called Labor Day. And one of the things we're talking about doing, and believe me, it's not definite yet, but is shutting down O'Hare Airport. Why shut down the airport, Livingston? Why inconvenience people? Why make people not like you and the folk? Why do that? Well, Dr. King taught us that human nature many times needs a push, everybody. We're not going to do something until it inconveniences us, makes us so uncomfortable and discomforted that we say, okay, we have to deal with these people because you got to hit the commerce, the money. Now, there was Pastor Flager had a march on the Dan Ryan Expressway, and they talked about that being a federal thoroughfare that was shut down between 79th and 67th. Well, we're going to be on another federal expressway, and we want to see, first of all, treat us the same. Treat us the same. They're both federal thoroughfares. And really, what's the difference in the two? What's the difference if you decide not to treat us the same? We're not looking for sanctions. We're not looking for permission. We're looking for a real conversation that is transformative and transactional with the powers that be, that we start looking into these demands. And, the only conversation that we want to have is one that is legally binding, contractually sound, that says these demands are going to be met by this date and this date. These are the funding sources, whatever it might be. But people won't listen to you until you make them uncomfortable. The baby sometimes has to scream and cry to get mama's attention, even if she's tired, to feed it. If an infant will scream and cry, what about grown folk? We know we have to do that, everybody. So, we got a couple of minutes left, and if you want to call in, we're right here. Again, the number is 312-738-1060. And let me say this, in the history of marches or demonstrations or protests, they're never fully accepted at the beginning. When Dr. King, Rosa Parks, it was just one person, Rosa Parks, that started that on December 1st, 1955. When they started the Montgomery bus boycott, everybody didn't stop riding the buses right away because it takes people time to understand it, to lose their fears or to build their courage or to come together or to get things straight. We understand that. But what you must understand about fighting for that which is your God-given right, there is never a perfect time when you can just go out there and say, I got everything. No. Life doesn't work like that. Life is messy, everybody. You know that. And there's no such thing as an unbloody birth. It's messy, it's painful, but you know what? If you can hold on, there's great joy on the other side. And so everybody can't get out there and do what we're doing, but we're doing it for everybody. everybody, red, yellow, brown, black, or white. We're doing it for everybody, no matter your class, your education, your family background, whether you got a prison record or you don't have a prison record, whether you're employed, whether you're educated, uneducated, it doesn't matter. We're all children of God. And this is why we're doing this, because some of our brothers and sisters have gotten off track and are being oppressive and have been hurtful to other brothers and sisters, and it is our job to bring it together. So, we're in wrap-up time now. I want to thank everybody for being here at the show. I know there was an audience full of people. We had so much going on. Our prayers and our condolences go out to the families that were victims of this weekend's mayhem, this violence. And remember, many times the violence is really an expression, a scream that is an interpretation of the desperation that people are dealing with. Everybody, we have to come together, work together for ending this tale of two cities. We're all working together. Go to our Facebook page, Buy Rahm 2019, BYE Rahm 2019, and comment, question, volunteer, reach out, support. We need you, everybody. Look, I love you. God bless you. God keep you. And you know what? Power to every last one of you out there. Peace.